Welcome to The Hypnotist, the show that gives you inside access to cutting-edge hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. Brought to you by the hypnotherapist demanded by celebrities, CEOs, and even royalty, Adam Cox. These recordings took place live from Adam's clinic in London's world-famous Harley Street. This podcast features powerful hypnosis, so do not listen while driving or operating machinery. This recording is not suitable for those with epilepsy or severe mental health issues. So, get yourself comfortable and enjoy today's episode of The Hypnotist.
Hi, it's Adam here, and in this episode of The Hypnotist, you're going to be listening to a hypnosis session designed to create a new way of thinking about snacking. The particular client that I was working with ate very healthy meals, ate them at the right time, was making great choices as to what to eat and when to eat, with the exception of snacking in between the first and the last meal. She was having a late lunch or an early lunch, late breakfast. So there was 2 meals a day, but it was snacking in between those that was the real problem. And what she found is that when she used the internal dialogue of saying, well, I'm hungry, that gave her justification to snack. But when she evaluated that she wasn't hungry and then evaluated that eating a snack would represent greed, the compulsion turned to aversion. It turned to a lack of desire entirely. And what you're going to hear in this hypnosis session is harnessing that distinction to create a new pattern where snacking is just not desirable and in fact can be positioned to be repulsive, which is the opposite of a compulsion, is repulsion. So this is going to be very useful for anyone that feels like snacking is the key thing that's getting in the way of their weight loss goals. If you like the idea of working with me to have hypnosis to change your body shape and lose weight, there will be a link in the show notes to schedule a free consultation call with me. But you might find that this session is actually quite helpful, even though it was actually created for someone with an individual strategy. You still might find it useful, in which case find a quiet place where you won't be disturbed, relax, and enjoy the session. Take a deep breath in. As you breathe in, just imagine breathing in a resourceful feeling of relaxation. And as you exhale, just allow any feelings of worry, stress, or tension to feel like it's leaving your body in your outward breath. As you breathe in, take a long, deep breath in. And as you breathe out, just allow it to be a slower, longer breath out. That's it. And I want you to scan your body for any feelings of tension, maybe around your eyebrows, jaw, neck, shoulders. And I want you to get a sense that as you breathe in and breathe out, that tension is just melting away, giving you a wonderful feeling of becoming more and more deeply relaxed just by breathing in and breathing out. As your body relaxes, your imagination awakens. And I want you to use the power of your imagination to imagine what it would be like to be taking a boat out into the sea in the Maldives. Imagine what it could be like to have the warmth of the sun on your skin, the gentle bobbing of the boat up and down. Maybe see the sun reflecting off the surface of the waves. Maybe there's a gentle breeze. Maybe there's the sound of the water hitting the side of the boat. As you look around, maybe you can see the white sands, maybe palm trees, I want you to get a sense of feeling so deeply relaxed, magically relaxed. And sometimes when you feel in that holiday mode, it's possible to just release tension that's normally just there. It's possible to breathe deeper than you normally would. You're able to let go of that tension. And sometimes people feel so relaxed when they're away from normal life that they find a new pace, a new rhythm. They breathe differently, they move differently, they sleep differently. And I want you to imagine feeling so deeply relaxed there on that boat. But I want you to imagine that you're going to be scuba diving under the surface of the water. Imagine putting on the mask, attaching the tank, testing it out, making sure you've got that oxygen that you can breathe. And I want you to imagine going backwards into the water, feeling the warmth of the water, such warm water. And it's not long before you're below the surface, but there's sufficient light coming from the surface so you can see so clearly under the water. Clear water, brightly coloured fish. It almost feels like it's another world, in a different solar system, in a different planet. And feel that feeling of deep relaxation. So relaxed. And I want you to imagine you're swimming deeper and deeper under the surface of the water, safely and calmly, but the depth under the surface of the water represents the depth you're able to access in your subconscious mind. I want you to think of your mind as determined, clear, conscious thoughts as above the surface of the water, and things you typically do on autopilot without thinking under the surface of the water. And just like an iceberg, I want you to appreciate of how much is under the surface of the water. Quite often you breathe without thinking, blink without thinking. You will walk without thinking. And sometimes if you're reading a good book, you will turn the pages and not even notice. Your body can do so much under the surface. And one of the things that you can do under the surface is to make evaluations that sometimes aren't true about whether or not you're hungry, about whether or not floodgates are closed or open. And I want you to imagine something catches your eye. Maybe a bit of coral, a fish, or perhaps the sand at the bottom of that sea. Something catches your eye which enables you to drift inwards into a thought. A thought of you being where you normally would be. I want you to imagine that you think about having that late breakfast, that early lunch. But I want you to focus on how you can increase the attention and focus on everything when you are eating. Focus on the texture, the crunch, the sound, the taste. Keeping in your mouth for as long as you can before you swallow. Realizing that your taste buds are not in your stomach or your gut, that they're on your tongue. So it's possible to extract all the value when you eat that food. You can enjoy it, appreciate it, and then allow it to go through your body, giving you the nutrients that you need, the fiber that you need. And I want you to get a sense of how you evaluate fullness. For some people, it's in the stomach. For some people, it's in the intestines, the gut. I want you to get a sense that you know when you're full and you know when you're not. And I want you to imagine what it would be like to have eaten and still feel like you're not full. And at that point, I want an idea to pop into your head that if you've eaten but you're not full, then it's because your body needs something nutritious but also enjoyable. And I want you to imagine going perhaps to a refrigerator, maybe a cupboard or a bowl, and seeing fresh cucumber, celery, maybe bell peppers. And I want you to get an intuitive sense that this is what your body needs. Something with lots of fiber to give you that full feeling. And I want you to imagine eating that cucumber, that celery, that pepper until you feel full. And when you feel full, let me know by nodding your head. I want you to get a sense that in the past there's been a feeling that if you're hungry and you want to eat, then just eating something opens up the floodgates. But I want you to imagine that the floodgates don't ever need to open. They don't need to open because at the point where you feel that there is still a desire to eat, I want you to create an image in your mind of a traditional looking tap. I want you to imagine turning that tap. No floodgates, just a trickle of water coming from the tap. And then I want you to imagine eating that cucumber, that celery, that pepper. And as you do so, when you feel that you've had enough, just imagine gently turning the tap until the final drip drops and no more water comes. And if there's a feeling that you desire no more, let me know by nodding your head. That's right. I want you to get a sense that your body fat represents energy. Your body can store energy as fat. It can store protein and muscle. There is one thing your body can't store: nutrition. So therefore, if you evaluate that you're hungry after a meal, it can mean only one thing. Your body is craving more nutrition. And therefore, when you give it nutritious foods like celery or cucumber, or perhaps some peppers, I want you to get a sense that the tap can be turned off. It's not needed to be open. But I want you to think of a time when you felt a desire to eat when you were already full. And when you can think of a moment like that, let me know by nodding your head. And in the past, you evaluated that you're hungry because you still had a desire to eat. But you now have a framework to make a distinction. If you have a desire to eat and you're not full, it's because your body needs nutrition. But if you have a desire to eat and you're full, then you can't be hungry. I want you to make an evaluation that if you choose to eat when you don't need it, it isn't hunger, it's greed. And I want you to imagine telling yourself the truth. I'm not hungry, I'm greedy. And try and motivate yourself to eat that thing that you don't need while reminding yourself that you're being greedy. Say, I'm being greedy. and try and enjoy eating the food while simultaneously saying, this is greedy. I'm really greedy right now. I need to satisfy my greed. In fact, the more you remind yourself that it is greed and gratification that is the need being met rather than hunger, the desire to eat disappears. You don't need to turn the tap off, it turns itself off all by itself. And if it becomes difficult for you to feel a desire to eat, when you make the evaluation that you're being greedy, let me know by nodding your head. But I want you to imagine we can make this even less desirable. I want you to imagine a ginormous pig. A pig that's been rolling in its own feces, smelling of its own crap. I want you to see the dribble dripping from its mouth. And I want you to imagine that this pig is lying on its side because it's just eaten a whole trough of rotten food. And yet the pig still wants to eat more. It wants to eat it not because it needs it, but because it wants it. And I want you to imagine that you're seeing this greedy pig eat and eat and eat until its belly starts to tear at the seam. I want you to imagine that the tissue underneath the skin of the pig is starting to tear. Maybe you can see some of that muscle tissue start to come out, maybe even an intestine, but I want you to see something that really repulses you. And maybe that's blood. Maybe that's an internal organ. But maybe it's maggots. I want you to hold the thought of a greedy pig eating so much that it tears its own belly, and that maggots start to spill out from the inside. See them wriggling. See them crawling around. I want you to imagine the stench of this pig that's been rolling around in its own poo. The movement of the maggots, but I want you to imagine you're seeing them close up. How they move, how they smell. And link this to the idea of greed, gluttony, eating more than you need. I want you to hold on to that thought and then to imagine being sat there at your desk, making the evaluation that you want something to eat, and then checking, do you feel full or not? If you don't feel full, you have a craving for something nutritious. And if you do feel full, then set yourself the challenge of eating a cucumber, some celery or pepper first, and giving yourself permission to eat whatever you want when you know that you're full, on the condition that you describe it to yourself as greedy. Feel your belly, your stomach full. Acknowledge that this is greed, not hunger. And try and enjoy the idea of eating that food while simultaneously imagining that smelly, slobbering pig, belly torn open, blood, internal organs, and maggots spilling out. And the more that you try and imagine eating that food, the more that you're reminded of the smell and the movement of those maggots. And at the point where it creates a maximum feeling of repulsion, let me know by nodding your head. And from this point forward, greed will create this feeling of repulsion. And the way that you can make the distinction between hunger and greed is to ask yourself the question, do I feel full? And if you don't feel full, you'll have a craving to eat nutritious vegetables And after, you can eat whatever you want. But if you feel full afterwards, just acknowledge it's not hunger, it's greed. If your unconscious mind is happy that this is a useful way to ensure that your body gets the nutrition it needs, that you'll never ever be hungry, but simultaneously, you can have a new relationship with food that takes you towards a future where your waist gets slimmer and slimmer. And what you lose in your waist, you gain in confidence and self-esteem. If your unconscious is happy that you are creating a positive, empowering future, let me know by nodding your head. And then I want you to imagine seeing yourself being indulgent in a restaurant, seeing yourself enjoying food like a dessert, with no disgust, no repulsion, no guilt, no shame. Or maybe see yourself celebrating at a birthday party, eating a slice of cake. From this point forwards, restaurants and special occasions means that you can eat without any guilt, any shame, any disgust, because it's a celebration. Celebrations mean that you're eating because you're celebrating with other people, not because you're greedy. So I want you to imagine seeing yourself enjoying food, eating more than you normally would, but knowing that this is few and far between, that food can be enjoyable in moderation. And if you're happy that this gives you a balance, that in your normal everyday life, you'll prioritize nutrition and sensible meals, but outside of that, in restaurants and celebrations, you can eat whatever you want. No guilt, no shame, no disgust. Let me know by nodding your head. I want you to imagine how this timeline ripples out into the future. See yourself over the next few days, weeks, and months, what this new relationship with food would look like. You're still getting the food, the nutrients that you need, but the floodgates has been replaced with the tap. And that eating when you're not hungry is now calling it what it is, greed. But see yourself that whenever there is a feeling that it's greed, your desire to eat diminishes to nothing, like a turned off tap. Not only is there no floodgates, there's not even a drip dripping from the tap. And in doing so, see as the days turn into weeks, weeks turn into months, you're becoming slimmer, more confident, higher self-esteem, fully in control, and still enjoying whatever you want to eat in restaurants and special occasions. And if you're happy that this future gives you balance, but takes your life towards the life that you desire, let me know by nodding your head. And then remind yourself that there you are, staring at perhaps sand or a fish or coral there at the bottom of the sea, and feel like it's time to rise to the surface. But in rising to the surface, you take back new associations and meanings and evaluations with food. New boundaries, new ways of thinking that will empower you to make great choices more often. Feel like you're rising to the surface. Maybe imagine putting your hands on the side of a boat, taking off your mask, climbing into the boat, feeling that you're a different person climbing back onto the boat than the person that left the boat. Subtly different, that over time will create ripples in your life and your future in a powerful, positive way. Feel like the boat is returning to the shore. And as you imagine walking out onto the sand, feel like you're actually now in your own body, listening to me firmly in the present, fully integrated into this moment as you take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your nose. Wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes, getting fully integrated into this present moment in time. I will soon count from 1 to 10 to awaken you. You will awaken feeling resourceful, positive, motivated, optimistic, feeling great because you've now established a new relationship with yourself and with food that will serve you far, far into the future. Starting to count to awaken you. 1, 2, 3, waking up. 4, 5, 6, more alert. 7, 8, open your eyes, open your eyes. 9, 10, wide awake, wide awake, wide awake.
Thank you for listening to The Hypnotist with Adam Cox, the show that gives you inside access to cutting-edge hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. To automatically receive the latest episodes, please subscribe. If you'd like to support the show, please share this episode with just one friend you think it could help. And if this episode helped you, please leave us a 5-star review.